All right, guys, it's Thor Sandalwood, and today we are going to be looking at the July 2021 predictions. This month has got me a little bit worried, to be quite honest, and it's not just what I'm seeing as far as the news, which the news is usually typically not good, but I'm seeing a lot of things as far as the retrograde planets we have going on. And then we're going to talk about a little bit more about Mars transiting in Cancer for the month of July. So we do have some issues that I think are coming up. And I think, we've been in this pandemic for the last year and a half. And if you guys remember, going back to January of 2020, that's when Saturn entered the sign of Capricorn. Well, shortly after Saturn entered Capricorn, that's when this whole pandemic really started to kick off, within just months of that, right? So here we are, and I'm making this video June 21st, but we're doing the July predictions. Here we are. We still have Saturn transiting Capricorn all the way until April of 2022. So I feel like the themes of this whole transit, the themes of Saturn transiting through this sign of Capricorn, I feel like they're not over yet. So I do feel like there are going to be new lockdowns coming. I don't know exactly how it's going to all play out. They are talking about that there's the risk of, other variants and things coming out. But I do see that, I do feel like there's going to be more lockdowns and a little bit more chaos. So I feel like we're not out of the woods yet. So I see the news media is kind of already blowing the trumpet, like things are going to get better now. We're going to open up. And I saw news headlines even saying like it's going to be the roaring 20s again. We're going to be in this gilded age where everybody is, going to be making lots of money and whatnot. And we're seeing a lot of problems. So one of the problems we're seeing is apparently lots of people are not wanting these service jobs in the United States. They have all these help wanted signs everywhere at like McDonald's and all these different franchises, and they can't find workers. Well, I've been browsing some videos on Tik Tok and here on YouTube, and you see that these service workers, they get treated very harshly. A lot of them get treated with no respect. They're overworked. They're understaffed. So it kind of makes sense that they wouldn't want to, really, that a lot of people wouldn't be applying for those jobs. And a lot of those jobs are low paying in many circumstances. They pay minimum wage. So why are people going to want to do that? So I see this kind of stuff happening over this whole summer with all these retrograde planets. We have retrograde Jupiter and we have retrograde Saturn. Now, one of the things I want to talk about is if we take a look at the planet Mercury. You guys are realizing Mercury went retrograde in May 26th, and for most of June, Mercury has been retrograde. Well, by the time we hit July 1st, Mercury's going to be going direct again. Now, Mercury's going to be going direct in the sign of Taurus when we start July off. And remember, Taurus is the second house of the natural zodiac. It represents assets and storehouses of value. This is where I feel the danger is, and it's going to be that first week of July all the way till July 7th. We're going to have Mercury moving forward in the sign of Taurus. I feel like there's going to be a market correction in July. I feel like the cryptocurrency market, having that big drop is just the beginning of what's happening. And we're seeing a lot of price inflation and things happen with commodities and food, especially food prices. And there's all these shortages around the globe. Apparently there's a computer processor shortage or CPU shortage. There's a chlorine shortage apparently. And then there's just massive increases of food costs, like corns went up 50% in the last year. Chicken prices, beef prices. So all those kind of meat prices are going through the roof, really. So what I'm seeing is I'm seeing a bigger market correction, and I think it just hasn't hit yet. I think this Mercury's like the divine accountant. So Mercury is going to be going through that sign of Taurus, which is the second house. It determines asset prices. And that first week through July, I am thinking there's going to be a rewriting of prices of things happening, okay? And then July 7th, we're going to be having Mercury enter the sign of Gemini, which is the third house of the natural zodiac. I think this is going to be the month that we're going to get some new news about things that have been happening for the last year and a half. You guys remember we're coming off this eclipse that just happened May 26th, so just recently, but we're still in that eclipse time zone. Remember, 3 months, about 1 month to 3 months after an eclipse is a very powerful time that things can manifest. And remember that lunar eclipse happened in the 8th house of Scorpio in the natural zodiac. Scorpio has to do with secrets, things being announced. And we know just recently, they've announced that Biden administration has announced they're going to be looking into the origins of where this virus came from. And one of the stories that's coming out is they're looking into this possible lab leak theory. So the lab leak theory, I think, is going to be gaining more traction. And I think we're going to be hearing more revelations about what happened this month. And I feel like July is going to be a real month where more about this could be announced because of Mercury being in Gemini. Because what does the third house represent? What does Gemini represent? It represents communications. It represents media outlets. It represents even things like propaganda. It represents your local network news. So I feel like this is coming more and more out in the media. And this is going to be one of those months where I think we're going to start getting new revelations and new intel about that. By the way, the month of June has been somewhat dismal about the UFO report. That's another video, but the UFO report has been pretty much a big nothing. Okay? So the next thing we're going to be looking at with July is we're also going to be noticing that the Mars is going to be in the sign of Cancer. And you guys remember Mars is the planet of aggression. Mars is the planet of, Mars is the planet that has to do with hostility. It has to do with stirring up things. It could be the planet of unrest in many cases. So with Mars being in the sign of Cancer, think of what Cancer represents in the zodiac. Whatever house Cancer is in your chart, it represents that emotional sensitive spot you have. So in the natural zodiac, Cancer is going to be the 4th house. It represents our homeland. It represents our dwellings. If in the United States, it would be like the country, the homeland. Is the homeland at rest, But this is more of a worldwide thing since we're looking at it universally, okay? So with Mars being in Cancer, really we're seeing a stirring up of that unrest, okay? And I think a lot of this unrest is going to be due to the people have been pretty much under lockdown for the last 15 months, okay? So there's a lot of emotions that have been suppressed, and there's a lot of energy being suppressed. We know that there's been a lot of young people. They were supposed to go to school or play in sports, and there's all this energy ready to come out. So I'm seeing July being a month of some trouble. I'm seeing it be some unrest. I'm seeing that with Saturn being retrograde, I'm seeing that stability from the universe is not really going to quite be there throughout July. So we can definitely be seeing some issues there. A Mars in Cancer also is going to create an environment where people are just being triggered. And this is something I noticed at my old job before I left it a couple months ago. I was noticing there was a lot of emotions running wild because of the restrictions. But now we're suddenly letting loose that pent-up frustration because now people can, they can take off the mask. They can go out into the world again. And I feel like there's a lot of frustrated energy about that. And we're still yet to see that energy fully manifest. And that's what I believe we're going to be manifesting in the month of July. By the way, I do see very big problems with water and droughts. We're already getting news stories that the U.S. West Coast in California, Nevada, Las Vegas, Arizona, they're all facing really big shortages of water. So I feel like this drought that's happening is going to expand, especially thinking about Mars being in the sign of Cancer, which represents water, essentially water, right, guys? Next thing we're going to talk about is, you guys remember that yesterday on June 20th, Jupiter just started its retrograde motion. And it's in the sign of Aquarius. And Aquarius represents the 11th house of the natural zodiac. Well, what does the 11th house represent in a universal way? The 11th house has to do with masses. It has to do with large gatherings of people. Political protest it can represent. Also, you got to think of it. The 11th house represents things like the stock market. So that's where I'm getting this energy that the stock market, we're going to see quite a big problem there. Because Jupiter, when it's going to be it's going retrograde throughout the whole month of July, and that grace, that natural grace that comes from Jupiter isn't going to be there throughout July. So I do feel like we're going to see a lot more political action. And I feel like we're going to start seeing more unrest. And I feel like there's just this stirring energy, this hotbed of energy that's going to be a combination of all things. Because, guys, we're going through a big universal transition. All these planets being retrograde is part of a larger energy shift that's happening. Because really we're going through this energy shift. Remember my last video, guys, where we're trying to get all these unhealed traumas surfaced so that we can move into that age of Aquarius that I've been talking so much. So we're still in that transition energy, and there's going to be a lot of people that maybe they can't handle it. They can't handle these energies, and that's what people have been referring to as end-time madness. So I do see the masses being somewhat stirred up. There's that grace that's losing. I feel like the stock market's going to have some issues, the 11th house, and I feel like we're going to see some more unrest. I feel like this whole issues from the last year, and especially a lot of the division we've been seeing, especially in the United States, I feel like those things are all in play right now. Okay, so that's what's going on. Then we have Saturn. Remember, guys, Saturn went retrograde on May 23rd, and it's going to be retrograde all throughout the month of July as well. Saturn represents that stability. It represents corporations. It represents government, okay, and organization, those top-down pyramidal structures that keep everything organized from a top-down perspective. Well, Saturn's going retrograde. There's going to be more of that loosening of feeling of control. So I feel like we're still very early on in this Saturn retrograde through Capricorn. And that's why I'm saying I'm seeing some sort of lockdowns. I don't feel like it's over. And a lot of times when these planets go retrograde, usually there's something we're revisiting. For example, the idea could be that maybe we're reopening too fast. This is the classic thing that happens with a retrograde. Saturn goes retrograde. Maybe we're reopening too fast. Okay. And then in September is when Saturn finally moves forward again. Okay. So that means usually there's some sort of correction that needs to be made. So I'm seeing big issues coming up, guys. I'm saying get ready. If I were you guys, I would recommend this to everybody. Make sure you have food stored, you have water storage, because I do see bigger issues, and I think we're just at the beginning of all these issues. And these issues are really going to fully manifest in the last quarter of 2021. I think that's when we're going to see the full fruit of all this manifest. But I really do think that this summer is going to be having a lot of issues. Thank you, Anne, for saying hello, by the way, because this is a live stream. So that's what I feel like we're going, guys. I feel like we're just not out of that gray zone yet. And I feel like the crypto markets are still going to be very volatile. Myself, I would recommend still, for example, I'm still going to be buying Ethereum. And I believe Bitcoin's still good to buy. I'm really believing in that. So I really see this being a very positive thing. I mean, sorry, a very positive time to buy. And just so you know, guys, and I forgot to mention this early on, if you like this video, please like and subscribe. And also, you know, if you want a reading, check out my website, thorsandalwood.com. That's where I offer readings. We do 30-minute readings, 60-minute readings. We do those either through Zoom calls, or what we do, if you don't want to do a Zoom call, I just record a 30-minute or 60-minute MP3, depending on what you buy, and you get that reading for you. You get to learn about your karma and so forth. So, guys, I really recommend buckling up for July. I think we're going to see a lot of secrets coming out, probably more about the origins of this bug that's been going on, and I think we're going to see a lot more unrest because of that Saturn retrograde. We got Mars in Cancer. It's kind of like this recipe for things just getting unrest because of all that pent-up energy that's happening. So, guys, stay safe. And I wish you guys many blessings. I will see you in the next YouTube video. And stay safe, everybody.